Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting adventure reading with Grandma. Today we're going to continue the series of the stories written by my mother. Today's story is called The Toy Soldier. These are just typewritten on pieces of paper. They're not been made into a book yet. It's her dream to make these all into a book for children. But as of yet, we can't find a publisher that would like to do so. So let's get started with The Toy Soldier. The little toy soldier stood on a shelf in Brewster's toy shop. He looked very smart in his bright red and blue uniform. He had been placed on the shelf with 7 other soldiers, all in the same bright red and blue painted uniforms. Mr. Brewster stood back and looked over the shelves covered with toys. He had wanted to open a toy store for a long time. He enjoyed making children happy. He hoped that a lot of children would come into the store to buy his toys. He unlocked the door and stepped outside to look again at the sign above the door. Brewster's Toy Shop, the sign read. Mr. Brewster stepped back into the store. From a box, he took the last toy soldier of the group and placed it on the shelf with the others. The soldiers, 8 in all, stood ready. Some stood at attention, others held guns, kneeling down with rifles aimed straight ahead. There were also cannons, wagons, and horses waiting to be bought with the soldiers. They would all make some boy a nice gift. There were a lot of other toys in the shop, toys and games of every description, toys for babies, toys for toddlers, and even toys for bigger boys and girls. He hurriedly cleared away the boxes. He wanted everything to be neat when he opened for business. It was nearly 9 o'clock. He picked up the dust rag and gave the last swipe to the counters. Then he stepped over to the door, unlocked it, and turned the sign around to read "Open." Before long, his first customer came through the door. It was a lady looking for a present for her new granddaughter. Soon she picked out a small pink rattle and a soft plush bunny. Mr. Brewster wrapped them for her. He was very pleased with his first sale. It was quite a while before another customer came into the shop. A man came in looking for a present for his son, who was ill. He looked over all of the toys, then stopped by the display of the toy soldiers. He picked up each soldier, studying them carefully, trying to decide which ones he should buy. He told Mr. Brewster he didn't have much money, not enough to buy everything in the display. Finally, he picked out the 2 soldiers and one of the horses. Mr. Brewster wrapped them for him. The man thanked him, and after paying for the toys, left the store. As he was leaving, Mr. Brewster said he hoped the boy would be well soon. Mr. Brewster kept busy for the rest of the day. It was now closing time. He pulled the shade on the front door and locked it up. It hadn't been a bad start for his new business. He had sold quite a few toys, and was pleased that they had gone so well. He had a small apartment behind his shop, so this was where he went as soon as he tidied up the shop for the next day. He fixed himself some supper and read the paper. He retired early. He wanted to be well rested for the next day's work. Early the next morning, Mr. Brewster was in the shop. He looked around. Then he decided to put a few more toys out. There were only 1 or 2 customers early in the day, but afternoon brought a group of school children in to look over his displays. They went around the shop looking at all the toys. Each one talked about what toy he or she would like the most. They were very well behaved and didn't upset any of the displays. Mr. Brewster talked with the children and asked them what their favorite toys were. After a while, the children tired of just looking. One said he must be getting home before he got into trouble with his mother for being late. They left the shop in the groups of 2s and 3s. Mr. Brewster was kind of sad to see them go. He enjoyed seeing children happy. He thought how nice it would have been if he had had children of his own. Business was slow the rest of the afternoon, and at 5:30, Mr. Brewster locked up for the day. Several days later, the man who had bought the first soldiers came back into his shop. He told Mr. Brewster how much his son enjoyed the soldiers. Once again he went to the display and looked over all the remaining soldiers. He picked up the one who was kneeling down on the knee, aiming his rifle. He carefully put it back and picked up another one. Finally, he picked up the kneeling soldier once again and selected a cannon to go with it. He paid for the toys, and after Mr. Brewster had wrapped it, he inquired how the boy was doing. The man replied that his son was still ill, but seemed to be feeling a little better, especially since he had the soldiers to play with. They seemed to have cheered him up. but the last soldier to be put on the shelf remained with the others. It seemed that the toy soldier that no one wanted. It seemed to the toy soldier that no one wanted him. He felt sad. The shop prospered. It was sometimes crowded with children in the afternoon when school let out. Mr. Brewster enjoyed having them visit. He thought maybe they would tell their parents what a nice shop he had, and maybe he would have more business. As the toys were sold, he put up new ones in their places. But the soldier that was the last one to be put out on the shelf remained there with the others. It seemed no one wanted to play with soldiers anymore. The little sick boy lay in his bed looking at the toy soldiers on his windowsill. He was feeling a little better, and the toys his father had bought him had even cheered him up a little. When his father came home later in the evening, he climbed the stairs to see how his son was feeling. He sat on the edge of the bed and they talked for a few minutes. Then he reached over and took the toy soldiers from the windowsill. They played with them for a little while. Then the father kissed his son good night and told him to get some rest. And he went downstairs to have his dinner. A day or two later, as Mr. Brewster was straightening up the toys, he thought about the little sick boy and wondered how he was doing. The boy's father had said he was still ill, but he enjoyed the gift of the toy soldiers. He thought he should have inquired more about the boy. Perhaps he could have helped in some way. Late in the day, just before closing time, in walked the father of the sick boy. Mr. Brewster asked how the boy was doing. He told the boy's father perhaps if a doctor saw the boy, he could help him. The boy's father hesitated. He wanted to help his son, but hesitated about accepting help from a stranger. Mr. Brewster told him he knew a good doctor who might be able to help. The father agreed to have Mr. Brewster call his friend. Within the hour, the doctor arrived at the toy shop, and they all drove to the man's house. Before they left, Mr. Brewster took down the remaining toy soldiers, wagons and horses and cannons, and wrapped them in some bright paper and tied the package with some bright blue ribbon. When they arrived at the house, the father introduced the men to his wife, Janet. Then the doctor and the parents went up to see the boy. The doctor carefully examined the boy and gave him some medicine. Then they left so the boy could rest and let the medicine work to make him better. The doctor said he would be back late the next evening to check further. He assured the parents the boy would be getting better very soon. Mr. Brewster handed the gaily wrapped package to the mother, telling her to give it to the boy tomorrow when he had rested. As the man left, the parents thanked him for their kind help. Late the next evening, Mr. Brewster and the doctor returned to find the boy sitting up in bed playing with his soldiers. He looked ever so much better. The doctor gave the boy some more medicine and told him he would be able to get out of bed in a day or two. Then he left, leaving the remainder of the medicine with the mother, with instructions for giving it to the boy for the next 2 days. Mr. Brewster's toy shop continued to prosper. One day he was surprised to see the boy and his mother come into the toy shop. He looked strong and healthy, and Mr. Brewster was pleased that he was doing so well. After that, Mr. Brewster visited the family often, sometimes bringing the boy a small toy. However, the boy enjoyed the toy soldiers more than any gift he had received. The toy soldier, though, seemed happiest. He was very glad to have been bought for a boy who enjoyed him and his fellow soldiers so much. The end. I hope you all enjoyed our latest adventure, and tomorrow we'll bring a new adventure of another story created by my mother. Have a good day, everybody, and enjoy the book.